The site of what is now Glen Burnie, before the development, platting, and founding of the town, had been in the Glen family since the mid-1800s. On the several thousand-acre tract of land there existed the family business, the Curtis Creek Mining, Furnace, and Manufacturing Co. On March 9, 1887, the Annapolis and Baltimore Short Line opened, which extended 22 miles from Baltimore to Annapolis. The railroad was renamed the Baltimore-Annapolis Short Line in 1894. John Glenn Jr. and his cousin, John M. Glenn, laid out the suburban subdivision on the 3,000-acre tract of land. And 1 year after the short line opened, the local Myrtle post office became the Glen Burnie post office, which marked the official founding of Glen Burnie. Founders of the town, like William Keithy, who was initially hired as an agent for the sale of real estate to build a post office at the intersection of Light Street Road and Central Avenue, the first bank, a savings and loan association, as well as the town's first library, was a significant figure in Glen Burnie's growth. Another founder, Thomas Woodfall, moved to Glen Burnie in 1889 and built the first house after the town's establishment. His sons Edward and Thomas Jr. would go on to build the First Avenue School in 1899, which was a 2-room brick schoolhouse, the Masonic Temple, and to construct St. Albans Episcopal Church in 1904, across the street from the First Avenue School. Many of the bricks used to build the church were from the Old Marley Chapel, which was built in 1731. The name Marley, which is so common in this area, originated from that historic church. The Woodfall brothers also built a number of houses throughout Glen Burnie, and they can be considered founders of the town as well. Sewell S. Tracy, an original inhabitant of the area before Glen Burnie was founded, lived in this house, which is considered the oldest home in Glen Burnie, and was the postmaster of the local Myrtle post office. In 1894, Thomas Brayshaw, a physician, moved into the house, becoming Glen Burnie's first doctor. He remodeled the house and also contributed to the town's growth, helping to establish St. Albans and planned a number of projects, many of which had to do with the Glen Burnie Carnival. Around 1908, funds were needed for sidewalks, and so Albert Hamlin and other prominent members of Glen Burnie started the Glen Burnie Improvement Association and the Glen Burnie Carnival, which in its first year raised $220 and would continue as an annual tradition and would fund a number of different improvements for the town. One of the oldest buildings in Glen Burnie is what was once the Mushaw store, which was owned by Frank Mushaw, who had started operating the store in 1896. The building still stands at the intersection of Crane Highway and Central Avenue, although it has undergone many renovations. Fast forward a few years to 1927, Crane Highway is opened, a highway which connects Baltimore to southern Maryland, taking the place of the former Country Road, which was named Light Street Road. A year later, in 1928, the post office was re-established and was operated out of this brick building. The postmaster went by the name of Louis D. Alba, and on April 15, 1930, he officially changed the name of the post office from Glen Burnie to Glen Burnie, which changed the name of the town. As the town grew, traffic became more congested and the need for a larger highway became more necessary. Between 1934 and 1938, Ritchie Highway, originally named Annapolis Boulevard, a very straight highway that extends 44 miles from Annapolis to Baltimore, was constructed and opened in 1939 as a scenic route. Many of the mature trees along the roadside were preserved to give the roadway a park-like feel. Over time, however, commercial development sprung up along Ritchie Highway. The old Ritchie Drive-In, for example, can be seen here in this picture of Ritchie Highway when it was surrounded by farmland. This drive-in movie theaters opened May 14, 1939. This was an original business along Ritchie Highway before the road became a commercial strip line. In 1947, the Herondale community was developed on what was once a shooting range, before that the Westminster Parish. All the 1,200 houses were developed quite rapidly, and the community stands as the first major suburban development in this area. Within a few decades, Ritchie Highway looked nothing like it did when it first opened. The scenic route had become a commercial strip line, the farmland had been developed, paved, and suburbanized. As new car dealerships and shopping centers sprang up along Ritchie Highway, downtown Glen Burnie declined and places went out of business. The construction of the Herondale Mall and its opening in 1958 also contributed to downtown Glen Burnie's decline. The B&A short line would eventually be abandoned as dependence on the automobile increased substantially and as the tracks essentially fell apart. Downtown Glen Burnie, however, was revitalized in the 1980s, although many of the beloved old businesses which existed in the heart of the town were torn down. A courthouse, a multi-level parking lot, the community college, and other buildings have reshaped Glen Burnie as a result of the 1980s revitalization plan. Throughout this town's 133-year-old history, and even before then, businesses have emerged and failed, development has expanded past the lines of the original 3,000-acre tract, and memories have been made. Thanks for watching.